Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking all 70 books that I read in 2021. Let's go! Okay, so I created my own little ranking system for these books. So first tier we have is books that I cannot stop thinking about. So these are gonna be like the best of the best, ones that like I will recommend to everyone. And then next tier we have is excellent, which is still super good, but it's not, can't stop thinking about level. And then we have the books that are so close to perfect, the books that are average, books that are just straight forgettable, and then we have books that I hated. So please be aware that this video will probably have random spoilers, like if I'm trying to justify a book where I'm like, oh, this ending sucked because of this. So just be aware, like I don't want to spoil these books for you if you haven't read them yet. Also, if you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts on each of these books, I did review each book individually over the last year in my end of month wrap-up videos. Although I do have to say that I can't guarantee that my rankings in this video will actually align exactly with my thoughts in those videos. Now that I've had time to like process and like stew on these books. So this video is more about like how I feel about these books now that the year is done, and like I'm just gonna kind of go through them and just do like my initial gut reactions. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want more book videos. Okay, so here are the 70 books that I read this year. These aren't in any particular order. They're just kind of, when I uploaded the pictures, they all got really jumbled. So I'm just gonna kind of go through the list. Okay, so the first book we have here is Nothing to See Here. That one was kind of random. I don't really think about it anymore, but I feel like it was a pretty good book. But at the same time, it wasn't close to perfect. Like, it was just very fine, but I do remember it, so it's not like forgettable. So we're just gonna say that that one was pretty average. Okay, so these three are a part of a series, but the first one, here's the first one, way down here at the bottom. So City and Embers, so that is, so it's a book series kind of like by an indie author, and it's about Fae, and I actually reread it. They came out in 2015, and I reread the series this year, or 2021, because I couldn't remember them, but I remembered really liking them. So they're really good. So the first one was when everything was kind of being set up and everything. We're world building and all of that. So that one was pretty close to perfect. I really liked that. Okay, so we have the second one in that series, which is The Barrier Between. So that one we're still kind of like world building and like trying to find everything out. And they are like in South America, and that's when like the romance part of the book kind of like vamps up. So that one was also so close to perfect. And then the third one in the series is Across the Divide, and in that one they get separated. So I'm pretty sure for the majority of that one they're not together. So that was kind of average. Didn't love that they were separated. And then in the last book, From Burning Ashes, like everything kind of like comes together and, just big epic ending. And so I do remember very particularly a lot of scenes from that one, like, and that was the reason why I reread the series, because there's like this scene where she like stabs someone in the eye with like scissors or something, and it's super graphic, and I remember just being like, my God. And so I feel like it just made such an impression. So I will also call that one like so close to perfect. So I really like that series. So if you haven't read that series, I recommend it. Okay, so the next book we have here is Born a Crime. I don't remember a lot about this book. I wanted to like that one more than I did. I just remember, now that I'm thinking of it, like I do remember the middle being pretty dry. But I don't know, it's probably not a book that I'm like going to be like thinking about like years and years down the line. Okay, next we have No Offense. I hated this book. I thought this book was terrible. I was very surprised by an author who has so many books that her writing in this and the storytelling was just so bad. So this is a part of her like Little Bridge series. In the first book, which is No Judgments, I liked. And so moving on to this next one, I was like, oh yeah, like, let's see what you got. But like, oh my gosh, I just remember it being so terrible. I didn't care about what was happening, and it was just, God, it was so annoying to get through. Okay, so the next one we have is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Like, I remember this one being kind of like boring when I was reading it. I didn't really understand what was happening. I finished it and I initially was like, that sucked, I hated that. But then like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, it was pretty good. It was kind of like, it was meant to like mess with your mind a little bit and kind of like question like what you had just read. But honestly, like I feel like it was just kind of like just a little average. Okay, so Ready Player 2. I don't hate this one like some people like hate it. I think it's just forgettable. I don't think that I have anything to say about it. I don't think it was the book for me. It's just forgettable. Like, I don't really understand like why it was the exact same as the first one. Basically, the exact same stuff happened. And it just wasn't for me. Ooh, okay, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I thought that this book was just excellent. It was so good. I thought he did such a great job of like kind of letting us into his life. And I thought he had some solid advice in there, and I remember just being pretty impressed with it. Okay, so this is our last, Dear Girls is the last memoir I think that I read this year. Once I read Green Lights, I kind of got on to like a memoir like kick, and then like I kind of like after Born to Crime and then after Dear Girls, I was kind of like, never mind. Like I'm kind of over the memoirs. And so hers was, again, pretty forgettable. I don't remember being very blown away by it. I mean, it was fine learning about her. I love her, but I haven't thought about it until now again. So that's, Okay, here we have the first Harry Potter book. I read almost all of the Harry Potters this year. I love Harry Potter, and I feel like the first one is so classic, and I feel like it's just very excellent. Okay, What If It's Us? This book, I shouldn't have read this book. I didn't hate it, but I am never gonna think about it ever again. I don't know, it's about like two high schoolers, and like I definitely shouldn't have read it because it's like young adult, and like it just felt too young adult to me. So for me, that one was pretty forgettable. It wasn't bad, but there wasn't anything about it that I'm like ever going to like think about again. I'm not going to tell people like, oh my gosh, you have to read this book. It was just kind of like, fine. Okay, the next one we have is this Twilight Reimagined book by Stephanie Meyer, Life and Death. I did not like this book. I kind of hated it, actually. And I was kind of a little mad when I was reading it because I don't know why I started reading it, but I felt like it was just such a cheap cop-out, and she completely just rewrote the entire first book all over again. It just felt like she did Control Find and just like changed all of the he's to hers, and I was just mad where I was like, just come up with a new story. Like, don't give me the exact same story. Oh, like at least change some things. What are we doing? I mean, I'm a little mad that I like wasted my time reading it. Okay, the next one. Okay, the next one is My Dark Vanessa. Oh my gosh, this book. I can't even look at the cover of this book without like this is so tough for me because this book absolutely repulsed me. I hated every second of it when I was reading it. Whenever I'm in a store and I'm walking by and I see the cover of this book, I literally am like, I have like a reaction. I hated the content of the book, but it's so hard for me because it was I feel like a book that has that kind of like visceral reaction in myself is almost good. So I have to say that this book was actually incredibly well written, and I just hated the content of it. But at the same time, I really, really respect the storytelling, and I thought the author did a fantastic job of writing the book. This one is such a hard one for me because I didn't like any of the content, but at the same time, like I said, like I still think about this book. And so I can't put it in the cannot stop thinking about tier, because in my mind, that's like, I can't stop thinking of it for good reasons. For me, like my Dark Vanessa, like I can't stop thinking about it because it was just so shocking to me. But honestly, like storytelling wise and everything, like it was just excellent. Like she did an incredible job of writing that book. Okay, so next we have Gone with the Wind. I thought that this book was so good. I cannot stop thinking about it. I was incredibly surprised that I loved it so much. I just felt like it was such a trip. I think I listened to it on audiobook and I just thought it was just so fantastic. And I loved kind of like living through this person's life for like over 10 years. And she was kind of like a bad person, but at the same time, you had been with her for 10 years and you just kind of saw her grow up. And it was just, I think about this book all the time. Okay, so next we have House in the Cerulean Sea. And yeah, this one was so good. This is the first book that I've read by TJ Klune. And it just, you know, like I feel like everyone says like, oh, it gives you like the warm and fuzzy feelings. And it totally does. I thought that this book was just excellent. I have nothing bad to say about that book. I definitely think everybody should read it. It's a book that has like a really great message and it's just very heartfelt. So next we have Outlander, and I loved Outlander, and I'm gonna put that in cannot stop thinking about because I do think about it all the time, and I loved it. And it was the first time that I've ever read anything that was kind of like time travel-y a little bit. And I don't know, I just really loved it. I thought it was really well done, and I'm surprised that it took me this long to read it because it's been out since the 90s. Okay, so Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I cannot stop thinking about this one either. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. I just thought that her writing was super beautiful in it, and I loved the kind of like surprise at the end, and I thought that Addie was a great character, and I loved Luke, even though I wasn't like supposed to, but I loved like the darkness that he was or whatever, and like I just thought that was a great book. And then also Song of Achilles is a fantastic book too. I love, love, love it. I will recommend that to everyone. It is probably my favorite book now ever. I listened to it initially on audiobook, and once I was done listening to it, I immediately had to buy the hardcover because I wanted to flip through it, and I still flip through it all the time because I just think it was so perfect. Okay, so Axiom's End, this was not for me. It's like kind of like science fiction, and that's not really my thing. And I kind of actually did forget I read this. So that's gonna go in Forgettable. Not because like I didn't like it, but because I won't continue the series and I haven't really thought about it since I read it, to be honest. Okay, Eleanor Oliphant? I think it's Oliphant. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. I remember this one kind of like surprising me. I thought Eleanor was super off-putting in the beginning, but then by the end, like you really feel for her. And I actually like really enjoyed this book. I thought it was very touching. I thought that Raymond, the other main character, like her, like he became her friend in the book. I thought that he was just so sweet, and I feel like I wish that like more male characters were written like him. So I do feel like this one was just like so close to perfect, but there was like I don't know, for some reason, like, I can't give it like an excellent, like, it wasn't like amazing, but like, it was just so close. Ugh. Okay, so for as much as I loved Outlander and how much I can't stop thinking about Outlander and how much I just loved it, that's how much I hated Dragonfly and Amber. And honestly, Voyager too. So Dragonfly and Amber is the second one, and Voyager is the third one. And oh, I'm so mad still at these two books. I finished Outlander and I was pumped. I was like, my God, I love Jamie and I want more of Jamie. And I think that he is just fantastic and I want more. And I was like, oh my gosh, she has like, her 9th book came out in November of 2021. I think it was the 9th. And so there were like 8 books for me to like dive into. And I was going to read one a month until the end of the year and then read the new book. And I was pumped. I was like, man, this first one was awesome. I'm going to love this series. I read Dragonfly and Amber and I was just like, what did I just read? I was... It was, oh my God, it was just a drag. It was the boringest book for the first probably like 80% or 70%. I was just bored to tears when I was reading it. I was like, oh my gosh, nothing is happening. And these books are long and they are a huge time commitment. And I'm very salty about Dragonfly and Amber. And so you go in the hate pile. And honestly, Voyager goes in the hate pile too, because I am mad at that book. And that's the reason why I stopped reading the series. I was like, I'm done with you. I finished Voyager and I was mad. I felt like they were nothing like Outlander. And I felt like she just kind of, just like storytelling wise, like she just kind of kept doing the same thing over and over again. We're like, this crazy thing would happen. And then magically, it's better now. And I just got so mad. And I just remember finishing it and being like, dreading having to move on because I'm like, I'm just going to keep hating these characters more and more as the book series goes on, and I don't want it to ruin Outlander for me. And it may have been the fact that I read them one after the other and they were so long and so taxing. So maybe if I let some time settle, if I were to move on, I wouldn't be so mad. But I can't keep going on about them because they just make me so mad and they belong in the hate pile. And that's where they go. Okay, so moving on, next we have Red, White, and Royal Blue. So this one I remember really liking it. I did think it was a little cheesy with like the whole president of the United States, like first son and then like the prince. I thought it was just very like cliche and kind of like cheesy. And then like the political stuff I kind of got bored with. But at the same time, like I thought that their love story was very cute and sweet. And so I don't know, I'm gonna call this one So Close to Perfect because if there would have been like a little less political talk on Alex's end, I feel like I would have been more interested. Okay, next we have The Gamble. This book was so stupid. This one definitely goes to hate. I was reading this and gosh, it was just so annoying. Like the main guy character was just so, he was just so like alpha, and it wasn't in a cute way. And he kept calling the main character Duchess because she had an English accent. And I was just, I was so not into it. And it was just so dramatic. It was kind of like a Hallmark movie where like all of these crazy things are happening and there's like this, and they fall in love like instantly. And it's just kind of like I was reading it and I'm like, ugh, what am I reading? This sucks. Okay, so Someone Else's Ocean is very forgettable. I couldn't tell, I know it's a romance book, couldn't tell you the main character's names at all. I don't remember them. I don't remember really what happened at all. What happened in that book? I know that it was like they were like at a beach house, and like they used to be neighbors. And then she when they first met, when they were neighbors, they were like at like a summer beach house, and he was like way older than her and she was younger, and then like, it ended up being a love story between them. And I was kind of skeeved out by that a little bit, because like, I don't know. I'm never gonna think about that one again. Okay, so next we have the Night Circus, and honestly, I don't know, it's just kind of average. It was not what I was expecting. It was supposed to be like this magic duel between these two like lovers basically, and we barely saw them have like a romantic connection, and then there basically wasn't like a magical duel. But at the same time, it was written really beautifully, and like I was somewhat interested in what was happening, so it's just kind of like average. Okay, so Perenezi was so good. I thought it was really excellent. I totally recommend it for anybody. It's kind of one of those books that I feel like no matter what genre you like, you would be interested in it. It was really beautifully written, and I thought that the story was great. I actually really, really loved that book. Okay, The Lovely War. This one kind of makes me mad. I bought this one because I loved the cover art, because I thought it was so pretty. And it's basically like a World War I/II book, and it's supposedly narrated by Greek gods. And it had all of the makings for this really great book, but to be honest, I kind of hated it. When I was reading it, I was a little annoyed. Like, it just felt very kind of juvenile, and I was just mad when I was reading it. There were two love stories going on at the same time, and I didn't care, and I was like, just pick one and focus on that, and like, I hated it. Okay, so the tourist attraction is next, and this one is pretty forgettable. I just like with someone else's ocean, I don't think I could tell you the main characters' names. I know that the girl was on vacation to Alaska, but beyond that, I cannot tell you anything about that book. Ooh, okay, so we have The Hating Game next, and immediately that just goes to Cannot Stop Thinking About, because I love that book. I think it's fantastic. I love it, love it, love it. It's one of those books I have on my Kindle, and I will just randomly read chapters from it because I just think it's so good, and I just need it in my life, and love it, love it, love it. And with as much as I love The Hating Game is how much I hated 99% Mine. So this book, this book is the second book by Sally Thorne, and I was so excited to read it after reading The Hating Game, and I read it, and I absolutely hated it. I thought it was boring. I hated the main characters. I just thought there was no reason for them to like have a romance. I thought that they like never talked. I thought it made no sense. I'm mad about that one, because I wanted another like really good romance book. Like, she did so good with The Hating Game, and then 99% Mine was just like, it was just bad. I hated that book. Okay, so the Flat Share is, I remember really liking it when I finished it. I thought it was really sweet and everything, but we're gonna kind of give this one an average rating. I don't feel like there was anything like incredibly like pivotal about it. I don't ever think about it, but I do remember it. So, it's just kind of like middle of the road. Okay, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. That's a tough one. It's going to be kind of hard for me to rank the Harry Potter books. I feel like the Chamber of Secrets one, I don't think I like it as much as the other ones. I think it's just kind of average. Like, I'm definitely not dying to read Chamber of Secrets like every year. Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, that one's the best. So that one's pretty average. Okay, so Second First Impressions is Sally Thorne's third book, and I am surprised I gave her another chance after reading 99% Mine and being so mad about it. But this one I didn't hate. I thought it started out super weak, but finishing it was just, I don't know, it was just so average. I don't really have much to say about it. It was just kind of fine, but I didn't hate it. Okay, so Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This one is excellent. I think that one is one of my favorite ones in the series. Okay, so next is Midnight Library, and I completely disagree with everyone who loves this book. I hated this book. I thought it was nothing special. I didn't understand the hype around it. I had many complaints about this book. I kind of go into them a little bit in one of my end of month wrap-up videos. I remember reading it and being like, this sucks. Why do people like this? I don't think there's anything pivotal about it. I don't think his writing's very good. It just kind of felt like every line was just trying to be like quotable, and I just expected so much more from it because everyone recommends this book and says it's so great, but I didn't find anything about it that I thought was good. Okay, so the next book is A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I started loving this series, and I was surprised. I didn't expect to love this series as much as I did. And I thought A Court of Thorns and Roses was, I'm gonna call it so close to perfect, just because there are a few things that I was kind of like meh about, but I thought it was so close to perfect. And then it set up perfectly though for A Court of Mist and Fury, which I cannot stop thinking about. And I now have the box set and I flip through that book still because I thought that her like changing the love interest partway through the series, that's something that like I've never experienced before. And I was just kind of like, we're doing this? I was just surprised. In A Court of Mist and Fury, like it just surprised me and it kept me on my toes and I loved it. So then the next one, For Wings and Ruin, I thought that one was just kind of like so close to perfect. I think by the end, like her writing style kind of started taxing on me a little bit. And she got like really into like the political stuff with like the war and everything. And I wasn't super interested in that, but it was still like so close. Okay, so this next book is The Theory of Happily Ever After. I found this book at a like a thrift store, and like the cover drew me in, and the story, the synopsis of the story kind of drew me in. Like this lady like going on a cruise, and like it was kind of supposed to be like a romance book. Oh my gosh, it was terrible though. I hated this book. I thought it was, wow, my hate pile is quite big. It's bigger than my other section so far, but I hated this book. I thought that it was boring and the main character was like a middle schooler along with her friends. The whole time I was reading it, I was just expecting like the main character to make better choices or to start acting like more of an adult, but she just wasn't. I wish that I could just gain back the time that I wasted reading that book. Okay, so next we have Beautiful World, Where Are You? And oh gosh, this one was, I thought it was really good. I thought it was very close to perfect. But for some reason, her writing style just kind of irks me a little bit. I think it's a little weird and it kind of is distracting for me when I'm reading. But then also with that one, I probably could have done without their email correspondences back and forth to each other every other chapter. Like, to be honest, I, for the most part, did not really read those sections because I thought they were boring. So I feel like if we would have just completely cut those, then the book would have been like really excellent in terms of like storytelling. Okay, so the next one is The Dinner List. And I'm gonna put this one in so close to perfect as well. I actually really liked that one. It made me cry and I was interested in the love story, and there was like kind of like a surprise twist that I was not expecting. So I did think that the whole like her having dinner with people from her past that she's like requested was a little like kind of like meh, like I didn't really like love that. And then like Audrey Hepburn was there as one of her guests, and like it just felt a little out of place. Like honestly, storytelling wise, like having so you went from like the dinner to like them talking about the past, like you kind of needed that connection there, but I felt like it could have been done a little bit differently. And I didn't love the sections where we're like reading about the dinner. So that's another one that was like really, really close to being just like excellent for me, but like, you know, little tweaks. Okay, so Cersei was excellent. I don't find myself thinking about it or like flipping through it as much as I do with Song of Achilles. Personally, I think that A Song of Achilles is better, probably because of the romance element, but still at the same time, I thought Cersei was excellently written. I think that it's a book that I will like recommend for everybody to read, but it's definitely not one that like is on my mind constantly. Okay, so A Man Called Ove. This one's kind of a hard one. I started reading it and then I stopped, and then I finally got through it, and I thought the first few chapters were very taxing. I didn't think that Ove was cute, but then the ending made me cry. I liked kind of learning about Ove and learning about his past and everything. So it was, I don't know, I just felt like it was kind of average. I didn't feel like it was anything kind of too crazy, but at the same time, I thought it was well written. Okay, Under the Whispering Door is the second book by TJ Klune that I've read. And since I loved House on the Cerulean Sea, as soon as I saw Under the Whispering Door was coming out, I was like, I have to read this immediately. And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought that it really got you kind of thinking, and I thought that the characters were really nice. And yeah, I'm just gonna give that one an excellent rating. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I really like the way that he did the ending, and I feel like this is another type of book that like pretty much anybody could enjoy. Okay, so for anxious people, I kind of think that this one was also kind of average, just like A Man Called Ove. I did think A Man Called Ove was better. With anxious people, like I was a little irritated with it at times. I didn't think that it was anything that special, but like I just don't really have anything to say about it. Like it's just kind of average. Okay, so Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This one, I'm gonna put this one in so close to perfect. I know that with this one I have like certain things that like I didn't love when I was reading it, like with you know, like for example, like Ron not talking to Harry because he thought that he put his name in the Goblet of Fire. Kind of some of those things where it's like it fell out of character. I feel like some tweaks with that one would have made it excellent, but it was just, you know, it was close. Okay, so 365 Days. I hated. The writing was horrible. It was just like, oh my gosh, I can't even with that book. I have a whole video talking about this book. I'm not gonna get into it again. I just like, the writing was so bad. It was just, oh my gosh. It was just bad. If you're interested in that, I do have a video comparing 365 Days, the book to the movie, so you can go check that out. I can't think about it anymore right now. Okay, so A Court of Silver Flames was centering on, so this is like A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is the fourth book, and it's centering on Nesta, Farah's sister, and so we kind of pivot into like a different direction storytelling wise. We get a fresh point of view, and I kind of can't stop thinking about this one. I really liked it. I thought it was fabulous. I have another video talking all about this one. I liked how we got to see her story arc. I liked how we got to see her kind of be like the hero of her own story. And that one is one of my favorite ones in the series. Okay, so next we have Dune, and this is one that I had wanted to read for a really long time because it's so well loved, and the movie was coming out. Saw the movie was fantastic. I loved the movie. The book though was a lot harder for me to like chew on and kind of like get through. Like it was definitely dense, and there was a lot of world building, and I almost feel like I would have to read it multiple times to understand it. It wasn't an easy read, but it was also very well done, and I thought the storytelling was kind of crazy, like the way that he set everything up. But honestly, for me personally, I thought it was just kind of average. I thought it was really well done, but it's not a book that I'm gonna continue to think about and be like, oh my gosh, and like, it just wasn't like 100% like the genre of book that I'm like interested in. Okay, so Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I think in this one, Harry is kind of angsty, and like, I think with this one, he's kind of like, he's a little like mad a lot, understandably. So I think like personality wise, Harry's being kind of weird in this one. So it's close to perfect, but I remember kind of being like annoyed with Harry a lot of times, like especially when he would just like not think, and he just was very impulsive in that one. And so he would just make me mad. And so I feel like if he wasn't being bad the whole time, like it would have been excellent, but he just kind of annoyed me in that one. Okay, so next we have Frankenstein, and this one was just kind of average for me. Like I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was like amazing or crazy. Like it was just kind of like, yeah, it was good. Okay, so The Love Hypothesis I thought was excellent. I loved that one. I thought the story was super cute. I thought her writing was really good. I liked the characters' interactions. I thought they had really great dialogue. I just thought it was a really great romance book. Okay, so next we have Midnight Sun, and this one is another Twilight retelling, but this one's from Edward's point of view. And when I was reading it, it was just reminding me of being like a preteen reading Twilight. And so it was just kind of fun to read, but it's the exact same story, kind of like with Life and Death. It's the exact same story of Twilight, only it's from Edward's point of view. Basically, nothing's different. It did kind of show that Edward is kind of a psychopath though. And like reading his point of view was a little weird. And it's kind of like the same as like Twilight. It's kind of, you know, an average book. There's nothing like pivotal about it, you know, it's just Twilight from Edward's point of view. Okay, so next we have Daughters of Sparta, and this one's another like Greek mythology retelling. In terms of Greek mythology retellings, it's probably, it's not like as crazy as Madeline Miller's books. So it's not as like beautiful or anything like that. It's pretty average. Like it was good, but again, like nothing like crazy. The Guest List. I did not like this book. I know that people really like it and think it's great, and I completely disagree. I thought it was annoying and I hated it the whole time, and I was so annoyed. I was so happy that the book ended. It was super obvious the entire time who was going to be the person that was dead, and I thought it was super annoying that it took place over the same wedding the entire time, and by the end of it, I was just like, get this away from me. Okay, Ariadne, I thought was excellent. I thought it was kind of like up there with Song of Achilles and Circe, like in terms of storytelling. I loved reading about this character. I was really invested in the story, and I absolutely loved it. Okay, so Song of the Forever Rains. This one I thought was going to be like a really good, like kind of like a Court of Thorns and Roses, like kind of like another like magical, like, oh, like romance, like type book. But honestly, it was just kind of average. It wasn't really anything special. It was entertaining at the time, but I don't think I would ever reread it. Okay, so Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I think that this one is also so close to perfect. Don't really have anything else to say about it. This is the last Harry Potter book that I read this year. I didn't finish the series this year. I ran out of time, but this one it was so close to perfect. There are some certain things where it's like, meh, I don't really love that, but it's so close. Okay, 9 to go. We're so close, guys. Okay, so we have, the next one is Twice Shy. And this is a romance book, and I'm gonna say that this one is average. Actually, no, I'm gonna say it's so close to perfect. I thought it was really nice, and if the main character would have been a little less whiny in the beginning, I would have been like super thrilled with it. And that's kind of the same with like Much Ado About You. I thought it was so perfect. I thought it was a super sweet romance book, but the ending was weird with like the surprise twist secret at the ending. I just thought it was cheesy, and I wish it would have been done differently. So if that would have been different, then it would have been like perfect. Okay, so The Rose is Greek mythology erotica, and I was super into it. I really liked it. I'm gonna say it's so close to perfect. There were some plot points that were kind of weird that I didn't think were like necessary. So that's why it's not like excellent, but I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so Beach Read. I'm also gonna say that this one was so close to perfect. Again, just like those little tweaks that if it would have just been a little bit different, then I would have been like, oh, this is the best book ever. Okay, so next one is House of Earth and Blood. This one is kind of like a new series by Sarah J. Maas, and I thought it was also so close to perfect. The thing, if she would have changed kind of making the dialogue a little bit more mature, I thought it would have been like excellent. But again, like her writing is kind of juvenile, and a lot of times I was just kind of like rolling my eyes and cringing, but at the same time, she tells a good story. So it was just so close. Okay, so we have New Moon, and this one is actually my favorite of the Twilight series. I'm actually gonna put this one in so close to perfect. I feel like if it would have been perfect if she, you know, wouldn't have had Edward come back. Like if we would have just continued this series with Bella and Jacob. I was a hardcore Jacob fan. If we would have just continued the series with them two and like Edward was gone forever, then this one would have been perfect. But, you know, Edward had to come back and like ruin everything. So it's so close except for that. Okay, so It Happened One Summer was average, I guess. It wasn't anything like super special. I did enjoy reading it. Like it was a fun read, but I didn't think it was, I probably won't reread it. And that's kind of the same with The Friend Zone. I thought it was good. I actually like the second book in that series better, which is, I think it's the Happy Ever After playlist, which I read that one first. And then I read The Friend Zone. So I liked the friend in Happy Ever After playlist better than I liked the main character in The Friend Zone. So that was just kind of average. Like it was good. It is a typical romance book. It was good, but it wasn't like amazing. Okay, oh my gosh. The last book is the most random book ever. This one is A Beautiful Funeral, and this one I hated. This one is like the last book in this long series, and by the end of it, it was just super taxing, and it's from like 12 million people's different point of views, and it's super pointless, and I thought it was so stupid, and I hated it. But yeah, so of course we would end the tier ranking list with a book that I hate. Which there's quite a few books that I hated this year reading, which I'm kind of surprised by that. There are lots of so close to perfects and averages, and then hate is like my third most popular category, so that kind of surprises me, to be honest. All right, guys, so there you have it. All 70 books that I read in 2021 ranked. Let me know what you think in the comments below of these rankings. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye!